Hello everyone. Today I'm sharing a story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about wealth and loyalty. What happens when a billionaire's perfect life unravels in one devastating night? Elena's fingers trembled as she pulled the lid off the cedar chest. It was a ritual of grief. Every year, on this date, she touched the things she had left behind. The tiny knitted booties. The scent of lavender. But tonight, something was different. Something was wrong. A small, blue strip of plastic slid from the bottom of the box. It wasn't a keepsake. It was a hospital bracelet. Faded. Scuffed. But the numbers were unmistakable, 882J. Elena's breath hitched. She remembered that number. She remembered the chaos of the night the hospital burned. She remembered being told her son was gone. But this bracelet, it hadn't been lost in the fire. It had been tucked away. Hidden. Like a secret. Elena whispered, barely audible, "No, that's impossible." 3 years had passed since the fire. 3 years of living in the shadows of what used to be. Now, Elena stood at the edge of the Sterling ballroom, a ghost in a cheap black dress. She wasn't here for the champagne. She was here for the truth. Across the room, the Sterlings were the picture of perfection. Julian Sterling, the titan of industry, stood tall, his hand resting possessively on the waist of his wife, Victoria. And there, beside them, was the boy. Leo. The golden heir. The boy who was supposed to be a Sterling. But as Elena watched him, she didn't see a billionaire's son. She saw the eyes. The exact shape of the eyes she had seen in her own mirror every single morning since the tragedy. Victoria Sterling spoke haughtily, projecting her voice to the room, saying, "Oh, Julian, darling, the charity drive was a triumph. The press is absolutely enamored with Leo." A camera shutter clicked rapidly. Elena gripped the small envelope in her clutch. The birth certificate she had found in the hospital's archived digital files. The one that didn't match the boy's face. The one that proved the Sterling legacy was built on a foundation of theft. The ballroom noise faded into a dull, distant hum. Elena moved through the corridors, her heart hammering against her ribs. She needed to find Julian. Alone. She turned a corner and nearly collided with a wall of silk and perfume. It was Victoria. The woman who had stolen her life. The woman who wore her son like a trophy. Victoria spoke, her voice cold and sharp, asking, "You? I thought security had cleared the riffraff. What are you doing in this wing, Elena?" Elena replied, her voice steady despite the fear, "I'm not here for your charity, Victoria. I'm here for what you took." Victoria laughed, a dry, cruel sound, and said, "Still chasing ghosts? That little tragedy at the hospital was years ago. You were a nobody then, and you're a nobody now. Leave before I have you dragged out in front of the board members." Victoria's heels clicked away aggressively. Elena didn't move. She watched Victoria walk away, her eyes fixed on the small, blue bracelet peeking out from Elena's pocket. The evidence was a ticking bomb. And Elena was ready to light the fuse. The crowd's murmur rose. A sudden hush fell as Victoria led Elena into the center of the ballroom, under the blinding glare of the crystal chandeliers. The guests, the elite, the powerful, the vultures, all stopped. They watched. They waited for the spectacle. Victoria spoke loudly for the crowd to hear, saying, "Everyone, please. It seems a former acquaintance of the family has lost her way. She's suffering from some delusions regarding the Sterling lineage. It's quite tragic, really. The grief can do such things to a mind." Scattered, polite, but cruel laughter rose from the crowd. The laughter felt like physical blows. Elena stood there, the center of a circle of mockery. She saw Julian watching from the balcony, his face a mask of cold indifference. He wasn't going to help her. He was part of the lie. She felt the heat rising in her cheeks, the sting of tears she refused to shed. They thought she was a broken woman. They thought she was nothing. Elena hissed to herself, "Just wait. Just wait until they see the truth." The sound of a heavy envelope being ripped open echoed. Elena didn't cry. She didn't scream. She reached into her clutch and pulled out the envelope. She didn't hand it to Victoria. She handed it to the lead reporter from the Chronicle, who was standing just feet away. The room went still. Even the air seemed to freeze. Elena said, her voice no longer a whisper but a blade, "Read it. Read the birth certificate for Leo Sterling. Then read the DNA results from the school's mandatory health screening. The ones the Sterlings tried to suppress." The reporter began stuttering, reading aloud, "Leo Sterling. Mother, Victoria Sterling. Father, Julian Sterling. Wait. This DNA report. It shows a 99% match to Elena Vance?" A collective, audible gasp rose from the crowd. The sound of a glass shattering on the floor echoed. The silence that followed was more deafening than any explosion. The truth wasn't just out. It was screaming. The golden heir was a stolen child. The Sterling dynasty was a fraud. The room erupted into chaos. Shouted questions, rapid-fire camera flashes, and the sound of people scrambling filled the air. The power shifted in a heartbeat. The vultures who had been mocking Elena were now swarming the Sterlings. The reporters, once ignored, were now a wall of microphones and flashing lights. Victoria's face, once a mask of perfection, was now a pale, trembling wreck. She looked at Julian, searching for support, but he was already stepping back. He was a man who lived by reputation, and his reputation had just died in a room full of witnesses. Victoria cried out in a panicked, high-pitched voice, "This is a lie. It's a fabrication. Security. Get them out." A reporter shouted aggressively, "Mr. Sterling. Is it true you orchestrated the hospital records change? Is Leo your biological son?" Elena stood in the eye of the storm. She wasn't the victim anymore. She was the architect of their ruin. She watched as the elite, the very people Victoria had spent years trying to impress, turned their backs on her. They weren't just leaving, they were fleeing the contagion of the Sterling scandal. The heavy, echoing sound of a courtroom door closing signaled the end. The fallout was absolute. The Sterling empire didn't just crack, it shattered. Lawsuits, investigations, and public disgrace followed the family like a shadow. Victoria was stripped of her social standing, her name a synonym for theft. Julian faced criminal charges for the tampering of medical records. But for Elena, the victory wasn't in their ruin. It was in the quiet of a hospital room, weeks later. The soft, rhythmic beep of a heart monitor and the gentle breathing of a child filled the space. She sat by the bed, watching the boy sleep. Leo. He wasn't a Sterling. He was hers. The stolen heir had finally come home. The hospital bracelet, the one that had started it all, sat on the bedside table. It was no longer a symbol of loss. It was a receipt for the truth. Elena whispered, her voice soft and tearful, "I've got you. I've finally got you." The sound of a child laughing in another room drifted through the air, accompanied by the soft whistle of the wind. Elena had her life back. Her son was safe. The world had moved on to the next scandal, the next headline. But sometimes, in the quiet moments, she would look at the old files. She would wonder if the hospital fire was truly an accident, and if there were other secrets, buried even deeper in the Sterling archives, waiting for the light of day. Thank you for listening to this story of truth and vengeance. Sometimes, the things we lose are just waiting to be found. I'll be back soon with another tale of secrets, lies, and the power of the truth. Until then, keep your eyes open.